is a soulmate? Can you find a soulmate? Does a soulmate even exist? Here are 5 signs you found your soulmate. Here are 7 reasons that person is definitely not your soulmate. How can you truly identify your one and only soulmate? Take this quiz to determine your one true love. What does it all even mean? Is any of it real? What is a soulmate, anyway? The dictionary tells us that a soulmate is a person who is perfectly suited to another in temperament. This phrase hails back to 1882, where the 2-word description of a perfect match was spotted in a letter written by English poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge to a young lady, where he wrote, "To be happy in marriage, nay, in order not to be miserable, you must have a soul mate as well as a house or a yoke mate." The yoke mate didn't really stick, but soulmate caught on. Your other half. Your one and only, your true love. How do we know? How do we find them? Is there only one? What if we can't find them? What if we find the wrong soulmate? Let's rewind to ancient Greece. Curious about the origins of love, philosopher Plato writes of a symposium, or what would translate in modern times to a dinner party of sorts, where a group of scholarly guys meet, eat, and drink, while discussing all things eros, or all things love. The playwright Aristophanes recounts a myth in which he describes love's origins, detailing the 3 genders of humans that originally existed, which were round figures made up of 2 people back to back, powerful creatures that were either 2 males, descendants of the sun, or 2 females, descendants of the earth, and lastly a male and a female, descendants of the moon. These superhumans roamed the earth in cartwheel fashion. Threatened by their immense power, the gods sought to gain control, so Zeus drove a lightning bolt between each of them, separating them from one another. Since then, humans have been forced to wander the earth in search of their lost half, their soulmate. These are the origins of love.
Soulmate is a piece written in 1995 for solo cello by Chinese-Canadian composer Ka Nin Chan. It's part of a larger work called Poetry on Ice, originally written as music for figure skating. In the composer's words, Soulmate is a piece that describes 2 people who accept each other beyond love and affection. Their understanding is subtle, mutual, and wordless, like a pair of dancers on ice. The unending melody depicts their graceful, florid movement as well as their voices from their heart. So how does he manage to show all of this in a short 5-minute piece for one solo instrument? The music is not in any key. It's not major or minor, and there aren't any obvious phrase beginnings and endings. This music is more like a stream of consciousness. One long melodic line that goes through highs and lows, conflict and resolution, tension and release. He manages to do this by using musical language that is reminiscent of our actual language. Every listener might have their own interpretation of what is being said in the music, but many of the emotions on display are quite universal. If you begin to listen to music as if it's a language, perhaps you will start to hear what the music is trying to tell us. This piece starts with a very strong statement. Who is speaking? What are they saying?
I care. I busted my ass all day cleaning this house and then cooking that meal, and I worked today. It would be nice if you said thank you and helped me with the dishes.
Eventually, it starts to sound like there are 2 voices going back and forth in shorter and shorter fragments, overlapping and interrupting one another until the piece reaches its first climax.
that you're upset because I don't have a strong desire to clean dishes?
No, I'm upset because you don't have a strong desire to offer to do the dishes.
I just did.
After I asked you.
Jesus, Brooke, you're acting crazy again.
Don't you call me crazy. I am not crazy.
I didn't call you crazy.
Just
I didn't
did.
call you crazy. No, I didn't. I said you're acting crazy.
You know what?
In the middle section, after things boil over, a sense of calm takes over, and you can start to hear a tenderness emerge in the two voices. From this tenderness comes a renewed intensity in the music, but this time an intensity that's filled with passion and desire rather than the anger from the opening. Eventually, the strong, violent gestures from the beginning return in the piece's climax, more heated and more intense than before. Finally, a sense of calm returns near the end, after all of the fighting, the loving, and the intensity, but things aren't as neat and tidy as you might hope. The ending is mysterious and leaves questions unanswered and loose ends untied. Though the piece allegedly describes two people accepting each other beyond love and affection, perhaps this ending is posing a question to the listener. What is a soulmate? Can we truly find our soulmate in another person, or do we have to look within ourselves?
Plato writes of the origin of love as a forced separation from a person so physically and emotionally connected to you, your other half, your soulmate. Of the billions of people wandering the earth, is it possible that we will ever find that one person to complete us? Are we incomplete without another? With an endless capacity to love, how do we know that we're going to love the right person? What if we were to look inward? Is it possible that we might find wholeness not in another, but within ourselves?
Chan.